I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible. But there's something about betrayal that nobody understands until they've been the one doing it. I was the other woman in my own relationship, except I didn't know it yet. And the worst part, I thought I was the one testing him. Everyone thinks Marcus is the villain in this story. They see the Instagram posts of him and David launching their coffee roasting company, all smiles and matching beanies, and they comment about how he abandoned me. But the truth is, I'm the one who ruined everything. And here's what really happened. I was 26, working at a boutique PR firm, convinced I had life figured out. Marcus and I had been together for 3 years. 3 years of Sunday farmers markets, shared Netflix passwords, and that comfortable silence where you don't need to fill every moment with words. At least, that's what I told myself. Looking back, the signs were all there, but I was too busy collecting evidence to see I was already losing. David started coming around more often. Marcus's best friend since college, the one who always brought craft beer to our apartment and made me laugh with his impression of our landlord. I should have known something was wrong when I found myself dressing better for these casual hangouts, when I spent 20 minutes on my appearance before what was supposed to be pizza and video games. But I convinced myself I was just being polite. You know that feeling when you're testing boundaries but pretending you're not? That's exactly where I was. The night everything started falling apart, Marcus was running late from work. David and I were alone in our apartment, killing time with cheap wine and conversation that kept circling back to relationships. He was complaining about being single, and I, drunk on confession and Cabernet, told him I sometimes worried Marcus was too comfortable with me, that maybe he was taking me for granted. "Has he even looked at you lately?" David asked. And something in his tone made my stomach flip. Not with attraction, but with recognition. Someone was finally seeing what I'd been feeling. "I mean, really looked at you?" I laughed it off, but the seed was planted. That's when I made the decision that would destroy everything. I told myself I was testing Marcus, testing whether he still cared enough to be jealous, to fight for me, to notice me at all. But the real reason I'm telling you this is that I knew exactly what I was doing. I wanted to feel wanted, even if it meant manufacturing that feeling. Everyone was trying to warn me about playing games, but I couldn't see that they meant I was the one being played by my own insecurities. I posted Instagram stories knowing David would see them. Photos where I looked particularly good, captioned with inside jokes we'd shared. I responded to David's texts immediately while letting Marcus's sit unread for hours. Small things. Cruel things, the kind of emotional terrorism that leaves no visible scars but destroys everything it touches. Marcus noticed, of course. How could he not? But instead of jealousy, I saw something worse in his eyes. Disappointment, confusion, the growing realization that the woman he loved might not exist anymore, if she ever had. You're probably thinking I sound heartless, but it gets worse. Because while I was worried about whether Marcus was paying enough attention to me, the real problem was that I hadn't been paying attention to anything real for months. The text messages between us tell a different story than what I'm sharing here. They show a woman who was already halfway out the door, already looking for reasons to be angry, already rewriting their history to justify what she knew was coming. I told myself I was protecting our relationship by testing it, but actually, I was looking for an excuse to either leave or be left. Everyone could see what was happening, except me. David pulled back first. He stopped answering my texts with the same enthusiasm, started making excuses for why he couldn't hang out when it was just me at home. The rejection stung more than it should have, and that's when I should have understood what was really happening. But I was so focused on making Marcus jealous that I completely missed that David was setting boundaries, moral ones that I had already crossed. Here's what I haven't told you, and it changes everything. That night, when Marcus was late, when David and I were drinking wine and talking about relationships, nothing physical happened, not even close. But emotional affairs are like cancer. They don't need touch to grow. They feed on attention, on shared secrets, on the excitement of something new that hasn't been worn down by everyday life. The real reason I began testing Marcus was that I'd already failed my own test. I was looking for evidence that he didn't love me enough because I knew I didn't love him enough anymore. I wanted him to be the villain so I wouldn't have to admit I was already halfway out the door. The comments on my posts were all goals and couple status, but the DMs told a different story. Friends asking if I was okay, family members wondering why I seemed different. Everyone thinking social media ruined us, but the real problem started before that, when I decided feeling wanted was more important than being real. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Marcus came home early one Friday and found me deleting messages. Not because they were incriminating, but because they were pathetic. My pathetic attempts at attention from someone who had the decency to shut me down. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was recognition, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment, preparing for it. "I know what you've been doing," he said quietly. "David told me everything." The floor dissolved beneath me, because everything wasn't what I thought. David hadn't betrayed me. He'd protected our friendship by being honest. While I was creating drama, he'd been calling Marcus, worried about my behavior, asking if I was okay. While I was testing boundaries, he was reinforcing them. I had been so proud of myself for attention, not knowing it would lead to my complete isolation. "We're starting a business together," Marcus continued, "David and I. We've been planning it for months, but we wanted to wait until we had everything figured out, until I figured out what was happening with us." The irony tasted like copper. While I was manufacturing jealousy over a fabricated emotional affair, they were building something real, something that required trust and communication and all the things I'd been destroying. I looked like I had it all together, but privately, I was watching my entire life collapse because I'd been searching for validation in all the wrong places. That was 6 months ago. Now, here's where things stand. Marcus and David's coffee business is thriving. They moved to Portland like they always talked about, roasting beans and building something that matters. I see their posts sometimes, never spiteful, never mentioning the wreckage left behind. Just two friends who chose loyalty over drama. Two men who proved that real relationships, friendship, business, romance, require something I couldn't give: honesty. Everyone thinks this story is about a woman who lost her boyfriend to his best friend. But the worst part about what happened isn't what you think. It's that I lost myself trying to be wanted by someone I didn't even want anymore. I made a decision that destroyed everything. And while everyone's calling me manipulative and cruel, they don't know the real reason I did it. The real reason I'm telling you this is that I was terrified of being ordinary, of being in a relationship that had moved past fireworks into something deeper and scarier. I know this makes me sound immature and selfish, but you don't understand what it's like to wake up one day and realize you've been performing love instead of feeling it. Admitting that I didn't love Marcus enough was too scary, so I created a situation where I could blame him for not loving me enough. I convinced myself that testing him was normal because admitting I wanted out was too terrifying. You know that feeling when you're so desperate to feel something that you burn down everything good in your life? That's exactly where I was. Remember what I said about betrayal? Here's the truth. I was never the other woman. I was just a woman who got so lost in her own insecurity that she forgot real relationships aren't about constant validation. They're about showing up, even when you don't feel like the main character. Marcus and David taught me that, even if I was too damaged to learn it while I was with them. I still think about them sometimes, not with longing, but with gratitude for the lesson I paid too much to learn. The coffee company is doing well. They're happy. They built something real from the ashes of what I destroyed. And me? I'm learning to be honest about what I want, even when it makes me look terrible, even when it means admitting I'm the villain in my own story. The photo I posted when it all ended showed a smiling woman moving forward. But what you couldn't see was that I was finally being honest about needing to find something real, something I couldn't fake or test or manipulate. The comments were all about strength and independence, but the real strength came from admitting I'd been weak, from understanding that being wanted isn't the same as being loved, and testing love is just another way of killing it. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm grateful for what I learned. Sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what you really needed. Sometimes the test you think you're giving someone else is actually the universe testing you. And sometimes, most times, the other woman you're worried about is just yourself, looking for an exit you don't want to admit you need.